Welcome, listener. Today we're doing a deep dive into some really profound source material. It's from a Thai Buddhist teaching called 52 Things Difficult to Obtain.
Right. It was delivered way back on November 7th, 2497 BE.
Ancient stuff, but wow, still so relevant. It lays out these 4 concepts, things described as, well, really difficult to get.
Exactly. And our goal today is to unpack these 4. We want to explore not just what they are, but, why they're seen as so rare.
And maybe how understanding them can offer some powerful insights for your own journey.
Precisely. How they can shift your perception of the world and maybe yourself.
Okay, let's jump in. The first one is incredibly intriguing. Human existence is difficult to obtain. We kind of take being human for granted, don't we? But what does the source say makes this state so challenging to achieve?
Well, the text makes it clear it's not just about biology. True human existence needs deep purity. Purity of body, speech, and mind.
Purity. Okay, break that down for us. What does purity of body mean here?
For the body, Kaya Borisut, it means basically no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct. But it goes further.
Oh.
Yeah, the source details like 12 points. It's not just you refraining, but also encouraging others to abstain, feeling happy when they do, praising that kind of conduct.
So it's quite active, not just passive avoidance. It's about cultivating virtue outward, too.
Absolutely. It sets a really high bar. And then for speech, Wachaborisut, there are 16 points. Things like truthfulness, avoiding harsh words, not causing divisions, speaking with principle.
16 points for speech alone. Wow.
And 12 for the mind, Ajay Borisut. Abandoning greed, ill will, wrong views, cultivating generosity, loving kindness, right understanding instead.
Okay.
And the text warns, pretty starkly actually, that without this purity after death, you might be reborn in lower realms, like as a ghost, an asura, an animal, or even in hell.
So it's a fundamental redefinition of just being human. It's about quality, not just existence.
And didn't the source mention different levels too? It's not just human or not human.
Precisely. Yeah, it talks about lower, middle, and higher classes of human.
Okay.
Lower are those really struggling day to day. No rice in the pot, as it vividly puts it. Middle are, good citizens, householders with some wealth, maybe businesses, servants.
Like a comfortable life.
Right. And higher are the rulers, kings, the super wealthy. And the text sort of challenges you, which level are you at? And will you even stay human next time around? To rise up, to be a genuinely good person says you need good manners, plus giving, dana, observing precepts, hula, and meditation, havana. It's an integrated practice.
This brings us to something really interesting. You mentioned the qualities of giving. It's not just giving, but how you give matters.
Tasathana, sahayathana, samathana.
Yeah, exactly. Tasathana is slaves giving. Like you give away the stuff you don't want, the inferior thing, the small, unripe mango maybe.
Okay, I see.
Sahayathana is friends giving. You give things that are, equal in quality to what you use yourself.
Fair enough.
And Samaithana is masters giving, offering things better than what you use, like preparing an exceptionally fine meal for monks, better than you'd eat yourselves.
That's a clear distinction.
And the text emphasizes a bodhisattva, someone aiming for Buddhahood, practices Sahayatana and Samithana, never Tasathana. It really shows the intention behind the act is crucial.
So true human existence relies heavily on inner purity and the quality of our actions, especially giving. But okay, even if you achieve that high standard, the timing seems critical too. Let's move to the second point. The difficulty of a Buddha arising. The source uses this epic story to illustrate it, right? Almost unimaginable.
It really is. It tells the story of Sumedha the ascetic. Dipankara Buddha prophesied his future Buddhahood. And Sumedha, to show his determination, his reverence, he literally laid down in the mud, made himself a bridge for Dipakara Buddha, and, get this, 100,000 monks to walk over him.
Laid in the mud for 100,000 monks.
And then 100,000 ordinary people walked over him too. He endured it because of his massive accumulated merit and his deep meditation, his jhana state.
Incredible resolve.
It was right then that Dipakara Buddha made the prophecy Sumedha would become a Buddha.
But only after 4 asankeyas and 100,000 kappas.
And those are just ridiculously long periods of time.
Almost beyond comprehension. We're talking countless cosmic cycles, eons upon eons.
Wow. Okay, so after getting this, well, frankly, daunting prophecy, what did Sumedha do? How did he start on this path?
He focused first on perfecting giving, Dana. And the source again breaks it down into levels, showing this increasing scale of sacrifice needed for Buddhahood.
On more levels.
Yep. First, Dana Barami, that's ordinary giving, external stuff, money, property, assets.
Right.
Then Dana Upabarami, higher giving. This involves giving one's own flesh and blood.
Okay, that's intense. And finally, Dana Paramathabarami, supreme giving, giving your own life.
Giving your life itself.
And the text uses that powerful story from the Jataka tales, Prince Visantara. He gave away his children, kaṇḍa and Chali. That's called Puttaborajak.
Gave away his children.
And even his wife, Mati Chittaborajak. Though, interestingly, the source says the god Indra stepped in, cleverly arranged for Mati to be returned to him, like a temporary trust, so things didn't get even harder for Visantara.
Small mercy, perhaps.
But it illustrates the level of selfless giving required. It's all part of accumulating the 30 perfections, the Pāramī 30 that. Things like giving, morality, renunciation, wisdom, energy, patience.
The classic virtues.
Right, but the key is achieving each one at those 3 levels, Pāramī, Upabarami, and Paramathabarami, ordinary, higher, supreme. It shows perfection isn't static. It's this journey of ever-deepening refinement.
The dedication is just staggering. And there was an analogy in the source, too, wasn't there, for how this merit gets, concentrated?
Yes, a striking one. Imagine merit, bun, starts out a cubit full, like a big measure, maybe like the size of the sun or moon.
Okay, vast.
But when you refine it into Pāramī, that perfection, it shrinks down to just an inch. Highly concentrated, incredibly potent.
Like distilling something down to its essence.
Exactly. And then that inch of Pāramī becomes the new cubit full, the raw material to be refined again into an inch of Upabarami.
And again for Paramathabarami.
Precisely. This incredibly demanding refinement process repeated over and over across those vast timescales, sometimes 20 asankeyas and 100,000 kappas, or maybe shorter paths like 4, 8, or 16, depending on the type of Buddha. That's why a Buddha arising is so difficult.
It's a process of unimaginable duration and intensity.
Yeah. The source even mentions the abbot of Wat Paknam at the time had been practicing giving intensely for 37 years, even going into debt for it, highlighting how central and demanding this path is.
Yeah. Okay, so given that journey to Buddhahood is almost impossibly long and hard, our third difficult concept feels very practical. The auspicious moment or condition. It's not just being human, it's being human at the right time and in the right circumstances for spiritual growth. So what does the source say are inauspicious conditions? Times when you'd basically miss the boat.
Right, the akana samai. These are situations where even if a Buddha did arise, you wouldn't benefit. So things like being born in really remote areas, barbaric regions, it says, far from any teachings or monastics.
Geographical bad luck, basically.
Or being reborn in those lower realms we mentioned. Hell, animal, hungry ghost, asura. Or even some higher realms, interestingly, like the formless Arupa Brahma realms. Or as mindless beings, asani beings, where you just can't perceive or hear the Dharma.
So too low or even too high in some ways can be a barrier.
Yeah. And even being born human isn't automatically auspicious. If you're born with severe disabilities, physical or mental, like being mad or profoundly unintelligent, that's considered inauspicious too.
And it goes beyond physical or mental capacity, doesn't it? There's a specific warning about attitude.
There is, and it's really interesting. The text warns against being born human, but being, arrogant, contemptuous of the Buddha, holding wrong views, or being what it calls elematako, which sounds like someone who just talks a good game but doesn't actually practice. It calls them spittle-mouthed, basically paying lip service, wasting time without real benefit.
That's a pretty sharp critique of spiritual superficiality. Ouch.
It is. A real warning.
Okay, so if those are the pitfalls, the things to avoid, what is an auspicious moment? When can someone really seize the opportunity for progress?
An auspicious moment is, pretty much the opposite of all that. It's when you are born human, you encounter the Buddha's teachings, and crucially, you genuinely practice them.
Practice being key.
Absolutely. Having sincere faith, doing the dana, sila, bhavana giving, precepts, meditation. And the text specifically highlights achieving Dhammakāya, the Dharma body.
Dhammakāya.
Yeah, seeing that as reaching the real essence of Buddhism, entering the triple gem. It even gives a contemporary example from Wat Paknam.
Oh, yeah.
It mentions over 150 people there. Monks, novices, lay people had attained Dhammakāya. They could apparently experience hell, heaven, nibbana directly. This presented as, proof positive of a truly auspicious moment where that potential becomes reality.
Verifiable spiritual attainment within the right conditions. Okay, that brings us to the fourth, and maybe the deepest concept, the true Dhamma. What exactly is this true Dhamma, and why is it the pinnacle of difficulty?
Well, the source first defines Sattama generally as the Dharma of the Tranquil One, Santo Dhamma, meaning the teachings and practices that calm things down, that suppress unwholesome actions, bad deeds.
Like ethical guidelines.
Initially, yes. It mentions observing the 5 precepts, or the 8 or 10, or the 227 monastic rules.
Yeah.
That's called Satthamma in brief, basic wholesome conduct.
Okay, important, but maybe not supremely difficult.
Right. Then the text introduces a deeper meaning, the true, certain Satthamma. And this is where it gets very specific, very internal.
Now so.
It describes it as a clear, pure Dharma sphere that makes one a human. A sphere of Dharma.
A sphere located where?
Located right at the center of the human body. Described as being clear like a mirror, about the size of a chicken's egg yolk. And this sphere is considered essential for keeping you human, preventing rebirth in lower realms.
Wow, that's incredibly specific, a tangible internal thing.
Very tangible in this description. And then it goes on to describe more spheres, more subtle, progressively larger ones, corresponding to higher states of being.
So it's not just one sphere.
No, it's like a hierarchy. Each sphere is considered the Satthamma, the true Dhamma, for the body or state just below it, the less subtle one.
Okay, can you give us a sense of that progression?
Sure. So you have that initial human sphere, egg yolk size. Then one for the subtle human body, twice that size. Then for the celestial body, 3 times. Subtle celestial, 4 times. Brahma body, 5 times. Subtle Rupa Brahma, 6 times. Arupa Brahma, 7 times. Subtle Arupa Brahma, 8 times.
It keeps expanding.
Exactly. Until you reach the Dhammakāya Dharma sphere itself. And this one isn't measured in egg yolks anymore. It's described as having a lap width and being 5 wa tall. That's about 10 meters or over 30 feet.
10 meters, that's huge.
And it continues. Spheres for subtle Dhammakāya, then for stream enter, Sotapanna, subtle stream enter, once returner, Sakadagami, that sphere's 10 wa or 20 meters across.
Wow.
Subtle once returner, non-returner, Anagami, 15 wa, so 30 meters. Subtle non-returner, Arahant, 20 wa, a massive 40 meters across. And finally, subtle Arahant.
So this true Dhamma isn't just abstract philosophy. It's presented as a very precise, almost geometric internal realization, a path mapped out in incredible detail.
Exactly. It suggests a tangible, measurable, internal transformation. And again, the source connects this directly to contemporary experience.
Sure.
It highlights that this Saddhamma, specifically attained through the Dhammakāya method, this supremely difficult thing, was discovered and could be verified right there at Wat Paknam.
Ah, grounding it in the present day.
Yes, and it gives that example of the Western monk, Professor William from London. He'd apparently studied under the speaker, Luang Pu Wat Paknam, presumably, and achieved this Dharma.
A Western professor achieving this.
Yeah. And he was just about to return to London the day after this very talk was given, funded by donations. His plan was to spread these teachings, set up a Thai temple in London.
Wow.
And he intended to come back later to bring more Westerners over to ordain. So this story illustrates both the rarity, the supreme difficulty, and the accessibility of this specific attainment through practice. It wasn't just ancient history, it was happening right then.
Okay, wow, what a deep dive that was. We've really unpacked some huge concepts. The sheer rarity of human existence itself, defined by, that deep ethical purity in how you give.
Mm-hmm.
Then that almost unbelievable journey to become a Buddha, emphasizing just immense dedication, sacrifice, and that constant refinement over eons.
And the critical importance of the auspicious moment, not just the external conditions, but your internal readiness, avoiding those pitfalls like arrogance or just, talking the talk.
Right. And finally, delving into the true Dhamma, Saddhamma, revealing it not just as principles, but as this incredibly detailed internal realization through those Dharma spheres.
Yeah. These really aren't just like old philosophies, are they? They feel like a direct challenge, a guide for how you might choose to live.
Absolutely. How you define your own spiritual goals, maybe, and how you measure real progress in this life. So, as you, the listener, reflect on these 4 things called difficult to obtain, maybe consider this. With all those detailed descriptions of pure conduct, the levels of giving, the internal spheres, what single aspect really stands out to you?
Mm-hmm. What resonates?
And maybe, just maybe, what tiny step could you take today, even a small one, to cultivate one of these difficult, but the text suggests, ultimately attainable qualities in your own life?
Yeah, perhaps it's about looking at your own giving, maybe, or just really appreciating the preciousness of this moment, this human life, and the opportunity it holds.
Or even just contemplating that profound path of purification. Lots to think about.
Definitely.
Well, thank you for joining us on this Truly illuminating deep dive. We really hope it sparked some new insights for you, maybe even a new path to explore.